Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I know that there are important people among us tonight, but I will address the audience as a whole, as human beings. So, if you may allow me to, of course. So I thank you all for being here from the bottom of my heart. And I would also thank our organizers and partners of this great exhibition. And I had to, actually. They told me otherwise we cancel the exhibition. So I would like to thank the DII, so the Deutsch-Amerikanisches Institut Tübingen, and also IFA, Institut für Auslandsbeziehungen. Is that fine? And also the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs. More seriously, I would like to talk about the project. So Reframe Islam is a project that I started about 4 years ago. It was back in the United States. While I had the idea to go to the mosques and set up a studio and with all the lights and everything and take wonderful portraits of wonderful random people smiling. Why smiling? I'll explain that later. So the whole project is actually based on the visual rhetoric and notion which is called the framing theory. This is surely, and to me personally, I think that this is the biggest threat to our peaceful coexistence. To briefly explain that, what is it? When media report an event, they tend to frame the information. So they would set the focus on some part of the information and forget about the rest. Why do they do that? It's not tonight's topic. Is it okay to do that? Yes, it's all natural as we all frame in our daily life. As we tell stories, of course, we frame the information too. So then what is the problem with media, you would ask, right? So the problem with media is that it focuses only on the negative parts of the real happenings. If I showed you a documentary on domestic violence, for example, in Pakistan, I assure you that after watching the documentary, you would think that in every house, the same thing is happening. And of course, we know that it's not true. Same goes for Iran. People have been there and reported that it was one of their nicest travel experiences ever. And not to mention the news. To be honest, I don't watch the news that much. I don't know about you, but it's so depressing sometimes. I know you hate me if there are journalists here tonight, but it's fine. So, of course, what does the media is that it brings all the negative frames together, brought to us 24/7, and we are all here thirsty, very thirsty, asking for more and more of that. Of course, it's our fault too. So give me more of those shocking images, more dead people, show me more poor people, more bad people out there. So we need more positivity in our lives. We need to educate ourselves on that. It is a whole lot of work, I know, but it's doable. It's something we can do. Why is it called Reframe Islam? Is that, of course, I would bring those smiles to people, and I would see when people look at those images, they automatically smile. It happens all the time. And what it does, it leaves a positive mark in the brain. And of course, the brain naturally and automatically sorts out the positive feelings out of the negative ones. So hopefully, next time, if someone says, I'm a Muslim or something, or introduces himself to you, of course, you would have those images instead of the images you have from the media. So when most of the people hear about Muslims, the first image that pops up in their minds is, of course, terrorism. Those bearded guys with Arabian styles. There's nothing bad in that, but I'll explain it. Sometimes people living in very poor conditions, they set the focus on that. People who have never been to school and sometimes even living in caves. Now, when I hear about Muslims, the image and the feelings that come to me are very different. Because I would think of my mother, my family, friends, and all those people who have been around me for my whole life. My extremely nice neighbors as well. I would think also about strangers greeting each other with a very peaceful Salam Alaikum. Does anyone know what Salam Alaikum means here? Right? It means peace on you, and it's something we can say to strangers also in the street, even if we don't know people. So those are the feelings I have. And all those people also with whom I share so many positive memories, even though I am also subjected to the same images on the media. So why doesn't it affect me? That's only because I am on the field. I know Muslims. I have been with them all my life. I know that Muslims are not what is shown on the TV or in the media in general. So personally, I haven't met any terrorist or anything in my life. Not even once. Not even a cousin of a friend of a friend of a friend. It's something we only hear about. So to correct some assumptions with the project, I would like to focus on the fact that Islam is a faith. It's not a lifestyle, not a nationality, not a place, not even a set of traditions. It is surely a faith and a set of rules. Although Muslims are not Arabs. To say the truth, Arabs are a minority in the Islamic world. They are not the majority. And does anyone knows what's the biggest Muslim country in the world? Right, well, respect. Okay, well, see, so when people say talk about Muslims, of course, everybody thinks about Arabs, which is not true. Muslims are about 1.6 billion in the world's population. This is huge, and only 106,000, are labeled as terrorists. So only 0.006625%. This is amazing. So, and this doesn't come from me, of course. It comes from the FBI, those statistics. I am not good at mathematics. I failed at the university. But if you would think about it, how could this group of people, of which the number is so close to zero, define the community as a whole? Let me tell you this. A Muslim could be a Chinese guy who lives in Brazil and is making rap music. Why not? I have met some people like that. Could be someone who is from Senegal, for example, and working as an engineer in NASA. This happens as well. Speaking of science, there is one example that I want to talk about. He's actually Algerian, but it's a coincidence. I don't want to make any promotion for Algerians. So he's called Zarhouni Ilyas, and was appointed by the President Bush and confirmed by the Senate as the 15th director of the National Institutes of Health. This is great. Under the Obama administration, he served as one of the country's first presidential science envoys to foster scientific and technological collaboration with other nations for the United States. So why don't we show more of these people? And yesterday, during an interview with the campus TV channel from Tübingen, the student asked me a question that none of the journalists asked me before. It was astonishing. And she said, have this project had an impact on yourself? As simple as that. As simple as that. Well, yes, it helped me to understand the Muslims better and made me more engaged for a better Muslim community and interfaith dialogue. So I don't only bother Westerners with my pictures, so I bother Muslims as well, don't worry. So while carrying out Reframe Islam in the United States, I noticed that Islam there is at one of its best forms. This is my personal opinion. You could maybe deny it. And it's an extreme tolerant Islam, as well as a very well-educated Muslim community. And it happens here in Germany too. I noticed the exact same thing. An Islam devoid of all forms of traditions and customs that mix to the religion over time. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, because I know it's kind of blurry, the women who are not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, you've all heard of this, right? So it has nothing to do, and I repeat, it has nothing to do with religion at all. It is simply a local custom that people try to reinforce with religious arguments. To deny that, we know that, for example, the wife of the Prophet herself was a great businesswoman at that time and was actually his boss. And guess what? She proposed him for marriage. That's amazing. And she was also a counselor in many of his great decisions. That's very important. So it denies that fact. So let's get back to Islam in America. So why is it like that? Why is Islam so different there? I think that what happened in the United States is a bit unique. People come from so many different backgrounds and actually made the United States. And when they got together, they ended up with what I would call the pure extract of Islam. I noticed also when people immigrate to the US, of course, they start calling themselves Americans. Hey, I'm American. Also, another fact that comes into play, pretty much all of the Muslim immigrants, moving to the United States, it was to pursue higher education. This is something special. This is very important, as religion is a double-edged sword. It is a very powerful tool, and you can accomplish so many beautiful things with it, no matter what is the religion. But when it falls into the hands of non-educated people, it becomes a very dangerous tool. So let's not fight those ignorance, but let's educate them instead. Thank you. And I would